I slammed my car door so hard the window rattled, and for a second I thought I might just wake up from some weird dream, but no. There. I was standing on the edge of my own porch, staring at a scene that made zero sense. Shoes at the front door, a pink scooter flopped on its side, muddy boots, a folded stroller propped against my old rail. Like this was a family home. But the family wasn't mine. I'd just hauled myself 14 hours straight from Arizona, cut my trip short on a hunch only to roll up and see my front door hanging wide open, the smell of roast chicken floating out like a welcome mat. And there was a dog barking inside, except I don't own a dog. Then I hear laughter, dishes clattering, and as I get closer, I peek through the window and see her. Karen Simons, Queen of McKinley Estates, perched at my dining table, wearing one of my flannel shirts like she'd always belonged there. Her husband Tom was barefoot in my kitchen drinking coffee from one of those green Walmart mugs I picked out myself. 2 little kids ran around in their socks across my wooden floors. My hands started shaking confusion. Anger, all of it mixing together as I reached for the doorknob and pushed it open so hard it slammed against the wall. Karen's head whipped around her eyes, big as saucers. "Oh my God," she gasped, shooting to her feet. "What are you doing here? What am I doing here? This is my house. What are you doing here?" My voice was already rough, adrenaline kicking in. She paled, scrambled for her phone, and shrieked, "You're trespassing. I'm calling 911. And she actually did. She called the cops on me, the guy whose name was on the deed. You ever have one of those moments where the world feels tilted like nothing makes sense? Yeah, that was me. Let me back up a sec. I'm Jacob Walker, 45, widower, used to be an Army medic. My wife passed 6 years ago, and since then it's been just me, the dogs, and my little slice of Colorado Stone Pine Ridge, a ranch about an hour from town. It's not fancy, but it's home left to me by my father. Never belonged to any HOA, never wanted to. But last year, the folks at McKinley Estates showed up across the creek, built their gates, speed bumps, rules about mailbox colors, and brought Karen with them. At first, we were neighborly, but it didn't last. Karen, always with her sunglasses on her head like a crown, couldn't resist crossing boundaries. She complained about my uncut grass, left notes about tools on my porch, even walked her dog across my fields like she was entitled to the view. Then came the letters, nasty, legal-sounding threats from the HOA telling me to shape up as if I was one of them. I tossed them all in the burn barrel. My land was older than their entire neighborhood, and the property line was as clear as day. 2 weeks ago, I left for Arizona to help my cousin after surgery. Before I went, I double-checked the locks put up, the cameras, told my buddy Daryl to check in. Daryl ended up leaving town for a family emergency, and that was the gap Karen saw and jumped right through. Now I'm standing in my own living room, Karen dialing 911, telling the dispatcher there's a dangerous man in her house scaring her children. Her husband is blocking the kids with his arms out like I might lunge. I try to keep my cool. "You broke into my home," I say low and steady. "This is my land. My name is on the deed. You're trespassing." "You were gone," Karen spat. "The HOA considered the land abandoned and transferred management to us." I almost laughed in her face. "You can't just decide that it's not your land." The community board passed a motion, she insisted, voice getting higher. "Officers are on their way. You'll be removed." Then she hissed to Tom pack up the jewelry and photos, take them to the truck just in case. Jewelry photos. Had they really moved in, not just squatted? My heart sank, seeing family pictures of Karen's kids on my mantle, my dad's photo missing my recliner gone. They'd settled in, rearranged everything. Sirens in the distance. Karen's lips curled up. "Looks like help's coming." I stepped outside to look as calm as I could. I had no idea what Karen told the cops, but when they pulled up, they didn't look at her, they looked at me. "Sir." Step away from the property, one called, his hand hovering near his holster. I raised my hands. "This is my house, Jacob Walker. I'm the owner." They broke in. "Check the records." Karen came flying down the steps. Tears on demand. "Officers, thank God." He forced his way in. "Scared my kids." The shorter cop nodded at her. "Ma'am, take your kids inside, let us talk to the gentleman," when she smirked at me before turning. I swear I felt my blood pressure spike. I handed over my ID, offered up every proof I had, deed bills, family photos. The tall cop took my license to his cruiser. The short one kept an eye on me, silent, waiting for a wrong move. 10 long minutes later, the tall one came back. "You're the owner of record, Mr. Walker." Relief washed over me, but then he said, "But that doesn't explain how they got inside with keys." Keys. My stomach dropped. I dashed to the garage, saw the side lock had been changed, my lockbox gone, cellar door lock replaced too. Karen had swapped every lock. By the time I returned, Karen was holding a folder for the cops, our temporary occupancy papers from the HOA. The officers looked over the paperwork, frowning. "This looks unofficial." I pressed harder. She changed my locks, moved in, replaced my things. Karen wouldn't back down, insisting. He was gone for over a week. The place looked abandoned. The HOA has the right. "You're not the government," I snapped. "You can't just claim a home." The officers eventually said, "This is a civil matter now. We can't remove them without a judge's order." I could have screamed. Karen actually grinned as they told me I needed a court order to kick them out of my own house. Her daughter peeked from behind the door and waved. "Hi, Mr. Walker. Mommy says this is our new vacation home." That nearly broke me. I left hands shaking, heart pounding, needing a plan. Next morning I was at the courthouse, slapping down every document. I had deed bills, photos, filing for an emergency restraining order and eviction. Legal stuff moves slow, but Karen used every day of delay. 3 days in, I drove by and found a fake HOA sign on my gate under protective occupancy. The place was full of HOA folks with lawn chairs and red Solo cups like I was the outsider. That night, rooting around in my storage shed, I found something hidden. A forged contract, my signature on a sale agreement to Karen for $20,000, land worth $750K. I took pictures, didn't touch a thing, and went straight to my lawyer, Linda McKenzie. She took one look at the documents and said, "This isn't just squatting. This is criminal fraud." She filed charges, emergency injunction complaint with the sheriff. Karen hosted a barbecue in my yard while the paperwork crawled through court. Meanwhile, I found out she'd told the local feed store I'd sold her the ranch. My neighbor Ellie handed over security cam footage, Karen moving my stuff onto her property trailer by trailer. Evidence just kept piling up. Still, Karen called the news, spun her story to the local station. Neighborhood hero saves abandoned ranch. The reporter filmed her hugging her kids in front of my barn, painting me as the villain. But the court finally set a hearing and issued an order Karen couldn't sell, rent, or change anything on the property. Then suddenly she vanished. I went back to the ranch, trashed, stripped, vandalized. Garbage everywhere, dishes rotting, my wife's wedding dress pinned to the wall with a knife. The worst was lipstick on my bedroom mirror. "You shouldn't have come back." Just as I was calling the sheriff, Karen rolled up with 2 men in fake HOA compliance officer jackets and a guy in a cheap suit. She marched up, waving new papers, threatening to call 911 on me again. This time, I didn't wait. I started recording, told her straight. "The sheriff will be here any minute. You want to test me?" Sirens in the distance. Deputies arrived, walked right past Karen to me. "Mr. Walker, your ownership's been verified. Ma'am, you're now in violation of a court order. You need to leave." Karen lost it, shouting about her rights. Her fake HOA officers melted away. The deputies told Karen to report for questioning. Her lawyer tried to bluster, but gave up quick. You'd think it would be over, but that's not how these stories go. Not 3 hours later, I found a storage bag of forged love letters at my wife's memorial. Letters written in my handwriting. All fake, claiming I loved Karen, wanted her to move in, was giving her the house. I was floored she hadn't just forged papers, she was trying to rewrite my whole life. Sheriff Donnelly looked through the evidence, jaw tight. "She's not just squatting, she's building a fantasy." Linda, my lawyer, dug into Karen's past and found a similar case in Utah, a disabled man's home, fake letters, court thrown out. This was a pattern. Then things escalated. Deputies started patrolling my property, but that night a moving truck parked on the road, headlights off. I reported it, but by the time deputies arrived, it vanished. Next day, a court hearing Karen, alone and ragged, tried blaming a mystery man for the fraud. But Linda laid out everything: fake deed, the letters, camera footage, Ellie's video. The judge ruled in my favor before Karen even finished. She was evicted, criminal charges filed, restraining order granted. But before I could breathe, someone broke in again, this time to destroy. Walls, spray-painted furniture, slashed, my wife's keepsakes shredded. Karen had an alibi, but I remembered that moving truck and the bearded man at her barbecue, never speaking, never leaving when the others did. Turns out he was her brother Dean, a disgraced real estate broker now helping her. We found my stolen things buried in a crate near the tree line, including a burner phone full of recordings Karen and Dean plotting to take my ranch to flip the narrative to make the old man look crazy. Sheriff Donnelly filed warrants for both. They tried to run, but Dean got caught at a checkpoint, and Karen tried to board a bus out of Denver. She was arrested, denied bail. The news broke the story wide open. The town finally saw what I'd been fighting. I spent weeks rebuilding, but some scars don't fade. The HOA fell apart. Neighbors admitted they were always afraid of Karen, happy to see her go. Miss Ellie brought muffins. Linda delivered a settlement check for damages, and the judge closed the case. One evening, I found an envelope under my doormat, just the word, "sorry," and a note in Karen's handwriting. I lied. I hurt people, but I really believed you were the home I needed. I was wrong. I hope you find peace. I kept that note as a reminder. Sometimes evil shows up with a smile and paperwork, not a weapon. 6 months later, the ranch was alive again, fences fixed, barn roof, new chickens clucking every morning. But the best thing was the quiet, the kind you only get after the worst storms. I started helping other veterans fight for their land so no one else would go through what I did. You know what I mean. You fight for your home, not just with locks and deeds, but with your heart, your story, your proof that you belong. I kept my promise to my wife, kept the ranch safe, and learned that sometimes the loudest victory is just a peaceful night on your own porch. But even now, I wonder, did Karen ever really believe her own lies? Or was she just another storm passing through? Anyway, that's my story. I hope it makes folks think about right and wrong, about what justice really looks like, and about how easy it is for one neighbor with too much power to turn your whole life upside down. So, what do you think? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and letting things go too far? I'd really like to hear your thoughts about justice, about boundaries, and about how a community should handle folks like Karen.